Hi everyone, this is Miss Skorka speaking. Happy Monday and happy June! Today's the first day of June, and I cannot believe how fast this crazy school year is flying. So today I'm going to talk about the short response rubric that your teachers are going to be using to grade your reading test on Wednesday. So I'll repeat that. You have a power and perspective reading test this coming Wednesday, so in 2 days on June 3rd. And today, if you take a look at the teaching point, we're going to go over and practice using a rubric to help us write a strong constructed response. Although I know you know what a rubric is, I just want to review it so that everyone's on the same page. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but a rubric is a chart that tells us what your teachers are expecting and what your paragraph really should be made of. And in this way, I wrote here, there are no surprises. And what I mean by that is, if you get your constructed response back after your teacher scores it, and it's a 2 or a 3 or a 4, you'll know exactly why. You'll know that, oops, I forgot a detail, or whatever it is that you know we were expecting for you to incorporate into the constructed response. And when you hand in your constructed response, you should have a pretty good idea of what your score is going to be if you check back the rubric. It also gives you examples of good work, gives you examples of work that needs improvement, and you can read this list on your own. But I think we've all seen a rubric before. So we're going to move on to show you what the rubric your teachers will be using to score your constructed responses for the power and perspective test. Now, I'm going to kind of go through this very quickly, but it's up to you to pause the video and read this rubric yourselves. I think that I'm going to make you responsible for doing that. I'm not going to read everything to you, but I am going to go through what a 4 is versus what a 2 or a 1 is. So a 4 states, we're in this box here, that you use R-A-C-E-C-E in the correct order. I know that we've reviewed a trillion million times what race is, but this in the 4 category that your answer is on topic. For example, if you're supposed to be talking about Rob in the Tiger Rising, your answer talks about Rob from the Tiger Rising and not goes off and talks about your weekend or the park or something going on today. So that's what focus is. And a 1 means your response is off topic, you don't use race. So that's an obvious difference. For text evidence, to get a 4, you need 2 pieces of evidence that supports the answer. So that means both pieces of details or evidence you use need to relate to your answer and support your answer that you have in your constructed response. If you have 2 details from the text, but only one of them is really related to your answer, that's when you start to get a 2 and a 3, depending on how your response is written. So to get a 4, you need 2 details that are related to your answer and that support your answer. And over here in the 1 category is when you don't put text evidence and you put text evidence that is completely off topic. In explanation, and this is the hard part for a lot of you, I think this is a tricky one. So we all know an explanation is sentences in our own words that tell the reader why the text detail you chose relates to your answer and supports your answer. And I know you've heard this all over and over again, but I'm going to go over explanation in a few minutes. And then to get a 1 in explanation, that means you really don't have an explanation at all. I'm talking about your details. So if you include text evidence and then go straight to the next text evidence, that's not having an explanation. And I'll show you what I mean on my next slide. And for answer, so I mean, in some cases, your answer is either on topic or correct, or it's off topic or incorrect, or, you didn't even read the text. It'll be very obvious if you didn't read the text, and that's when you'll get a 1. But for a 4 and a 3, you just need to make sure that your answer is clear to your teachers. You don't state it in a trillion sentences. You state it in one clear sentence that your answer proves that you read the book, that it's on topic. Okay? So, since that was a pretty crazy slide and it had a lot of information on it, this is the slide we were just talking about, I'm going to go over a quick summary of what you see here in this rubric, and I'll repeat, it is up to you to come back to this video and take a look at this short response rubric, okay? So to get a 4, you'll need 1, to restate the question in sentence form, a complete, clear sentence restating the question, and in that restate, you can answer the question. So for example, if the question is about power, who has the power in Tiger Rising? That could be the question. Who has the power in Tiger Rising? And I might say, the person who has the power in Tiger Rising is Bucamp. Okay, Mr. Bucamp. So I restated and I answered in the same sentence. So those, to get a 4, you need those 2 things. The third thing you need is 2 text details. And I underlined it, that relate to or support your answer. Any old details aren't just going to do. You can't just put any quotation or any detail and expect it to be right. It has to be a detail that supports your answer. And finally, giving 1 explanation per detail that states why the detail you chose supports your answer. Meaning, if there's 2 details in your response, you need 2 explanations. If there's 3 details in your response, you need 3 explanations. For every detail you include, you also need an explanation. And again, I know that this is review. You guys are pros at RACE by now. So let's move on to an example, and then I'll give you your portfolio assignment. I'm going to quickly read this to you and then give you a sample response. A little mouse was passing through a lion's den. The lion caught him and was about to smash him when the little mouse spoke. "Sir, please let me go, and I will do you a good turn one day for sparing my life." The lion was rather amused to hear this, thinking, "What good can he do me? He's just a tiny mouse." But he let him go anyway. 2 weeks later, some huntsmen came to the same forest and spread a net around the lion's den. The lion was captured. He struggled hard to set himself free, but he soon realized he was trapped. He roared with anger. The little mouse was looking for food when he heard the lion's roar. He ran to him. Seeing the lion caught on the net, he started gnawing at it at once. The mouse had sharp teeth and soon freed the lion. The lion was very grateful to the little mouse. From that day, they became best of friends. The question is, how did the lion's perspective of the mouse change from the beginning to the end of the story? And I've color-coded my RACE response here. At the beginning of the story, that's my restate, the lion and the mouse, that should be red, boys and girls. I will change that. The lion did not think that the mouse could help him or do anything important. By the end of the story, however, the lion realized that even though the mouse was a small creature, he was capable of anything. So that's the answer. And in this example here, the answer is 2 sentences. That is also fine. It should not be more than that. RA should be 1 to 2 sentences, no more. Now let's get to the citing or the text evidence. See how it's green? At the beginning of the text, the lion thought to himself, the lion thought to himself, "What good can he do me? He's just a tiny mouse." Now I'll get to the E, explanation. This shows that the lion did not believe the mouse could not have an impact on his life or help in any important way. C, green. So I have a detail, my explanation, and now I'll do another detail in green and another explanation in black. But then, when Lion was trapped, the mouse saved him by chewing on the net so that it could break, which set the lion free. There's my detail. See, your details don't have to be quotations. They just have to be details from the text. You can do either one, whatever you feel is right for you, as long as it's from the text. In this moment, the mouse proved to Lion that he can do anything he sets his mind to. This is all explanation in my own words. This is how the lion's perspective on the mouse changed. So you see, this is a response of a 4. It has a restate and an answer, which I will make red. So you can see, yep, there you go. And I have my answer. Then I have a text detail in green, an explanation of how my text detail is relevant or supports my answer in black, another detail here, and another explanation here. And you've seen this all before. And if I go back to my other slides, it checks out all the boxes in the 4 column, giving me a 4 for the response. As I wrote my response, I checked this rubric over and over again. And at first, I actually only had 1 detail and 1 explanation. And I realized I was only going to get a 2 or a 3. But to push me to a 4, I needed 2 good pieces of evidence and 2 explanations. So that's how the rubric kind of helped me there. Now, I'm going to read to you a story called The Worst Trip Ever, and then you are going to do your portfolio assignment. The worst trip ever. Dalton threw his clothes into his suitcase. "Mom," he shouted, "can I take my iPad?" "No," his mother replied. "What about my video games?" Dalton asked. "No electronics are allowed," chimed his mom. "This is literally going to be the worst trip ever," Dalton whispered to himself. He shoved his swim trunks, socks, and extra t-shirts into the bag and stumbled down the stairs. "I don't even know why I have to go," whined Dalton. He had been begging for the past few weeks not to go to summer camp. This was his last effort to try to stay home for the summer instead of going to the stinky, bug-infested camp. By the look on Dalton's face, his mom knew that he was still not excited about going. She sat down beside him and began to tell him that she felt the same way when she was his age. Her mom made her go to the Fun Springs camp, and she didn't want to go. As an adult, she now realized that some of her best summer memories were from camp. "Just give it a chance," Mom pleaded. During the car ride, Dalton watched the landscape change from highways, weeds, and billboards to lush trees, mountains, and wildflowers. He had to admit that the scenery was at least nice, but already missed his phone. Dalton and his mother pulled up to the parking lot. Beside them, another car pulled into the parking space. Dalton got out of the car. At the same time, a boy stepped out of the other car. He looked to be the same age as Dalton. "Hi," Dalton waved to the other boy. "Hello," the boy beside him said. They exchanged names, and Dalton found out that the other boy's name was Charlie. Charlie was from New York and had been traveling for 2 hours. Dalton told Charlie they had also been driving for 2 hours. Oh, so that's something they have in common. As the boys continued to talk, they discovered that they both had a lot in common. Both boys loved to play Minecraft, loved the same kind of music, cuisine, which is food, and agreed that a summer away without devices like iPads and phones was lame. The mothers exchanged glances as they led the boys to the registration desk. So look, he's made a friend. The line for registration, that means like when you register, you're kind of signing up. The line for registration was long to get into camp, but it seemed to move quickly. The boys held a conversation for the entire time they waited. Finally, they got to the front of the line and got their room assignments. Dalton and Charlie realized that they would be right across the hall from each other. "Are you excited about camp?" Dalton asked Charlie. "No, it's going to be the worst." Charlie said, "I know," Dalton exclaimed with a smile. So as you can see, this is a story about 2 boys who are going to summer camp. You are going to answer this question using RACECE in your portfolio. Do your best and take a look back at that rubric. Bye, boys and girls.